will. She said she knew she would trust me, and I will. I said, okay, baby, tell me what you'll be. I lay my head down and see what I see. By the time she was back by her open eyes, I knew that I was in for a bigger surprise. Okay, welcome back to Peeling Syd Barrett. This will be episode 44. And in this episode, I want to discuss the song Love Song. The reason for that is partially obvious because I just played the song Love Song by Mr. Roger Syd Barrett. It's an up-tempo, beautiful song. It's clean. It's beautiful emotion. And I consider it to be kind of a young love, well-intentioned romance kind of a song. And it's really a wonderful song. So I wanted to rework it and play it for you, and I'm going to throw the chords in there so that if you like guitar, maybe you can try to play it the way I play it. I don't play it exactly the same way. I play it a little bit faster and janglier, I guess, is what maybe Mr. Barrett would say. But I think, of course, his version is much better than mine, but I did want to have the feeling of playing it and include that in the video. For some reason, I don't know, I guess to feel connected to the song and to feel connected to the work, which is something I like to do. So let's kind of discuss the nature of the video that was released by Syd Barrett Official. And apparently his family may have set up a channel to rework some of his music. I don't know, maybe they own the copyright to the music and the lyrics and whatnot now. Maybe they just start getting around to it now. I don't know. But it looks like a channel set up like 3 months ago. They've been reworking songs. This is one of the songs they reworked. It extensively uses art from Syd Barrett's letters. And those letters, as I mentioned, are in the book Barrett by Russell, Beecher, and Will Schutz. So if you don't have that book, I suggest you get it. It's one of the books that I suggest you get if you want to understand Syd. And most of the letters that the artwork comes from are to Libby, and there is a little bit to Jenny Spires as well. And of course, Jenny is one of the people that's directly mentioned in the trailer that's going to be in the film. Have you got it yet? But I do wonder if Libby's in there. And as I mentioned in my discussion on the trailer, Libby Gosden is, I suspect, a very, very big influence on Syd, at least in the awakening of the romantic poet aspect of Syd. At the very least, well, I think people should acknowledge that. So, and I think personally she was much, much, much more influential than that to him. But there's no way of knowing something like that. Okay, so let's discuss things that are in the video, and because they're in the video, I can kind of comment on them. The first is that the video starts with kind of ink flowing and moving. I love that effect. It's beautiful. It really does kind of start the video off well. They then show a portrait of a boy, and Syd made kind of like two portraits that are kind of like in this ink blot style of art, and they're both really good at insinuating detail that isn't necessarily there. So I can assume that Syd made these within like less than 10 minutes. So they're very well done. I think one of them is of Libby's little brother or cousin or something like that. I don't want to go look it up, but I think that was the story behind one of them. And you really can't imagine a kid sitting still for longer than 10 minutes. You know, that age, they're pretty busybody. So I can't imagine that it took too long to make that. Very well done. It gives you an inkling to the artistic capability of Mr. Barrett. Okay, the next thing that I'll kind of mention is his handwriting, which is really clean and aesthetically pleasing in a way. It's funny to me that artists often are artistic in almost everything that they do. So, and of course, everyone's handwriting is an art form. Of course, it makes me a little bit sad when I see people exactly copying how they're told to do things. and not differentiating at all. But his handwriting is so unique. It's a little bit difficult to get used to at first, but eventually, if you look at it long enough, it starts to kind of flow a little better, kind of like Shakespeare or Clockwork Orange. It starts to make sense in your brain, and then it flows easier. And as I mentioned, I don't know the nature of copyright, and did the family kind of not own copyrights of the music or whatever? I don't know who owned all this stuff, but it looks like it's getting worked out. So I'm not affiliated with Syd Barrett Official, the channel, but I did subscribe to it. I suggest you check it out too, and hopefully they'll come out with more and more material like this in the future. The next thing I'll mention is this kind of a picture of a girl that's identified in the book as Big Lib. So there is a picture right there of Libby, and you have to wonder, does the family kind of know something? Are they including her here for some reason? Or is it just a continuation of a generic form that fits the kind of whimsical nature of this song? I don't know. As I stated, I think Libby had a profound impact on Syd. The next kind of thing I'll mention is this explosion, this perhaps atomic explosion, and the end. And you have to wonder, is Syd expressing kind of the idea of fear of nuclear or atomic war? Why is it included here? This isn't a song about war and death, right? So there is an explanation, of course, that's possible, and that is that many poets, particularly romantics, will discuss this idea of having an overflowing of emotion, almost like being struck by lightning in a moment. For some people that have been young and in love, they feel like they've been struck by lightning. There's been a thunderclap, and this just awakening of emotion just starts to pour out of their body. And perhaps that's why that's in here. I don't know. That would fit the context a little bit better. I suspect that's why it's included. And I also suspect that that is accurate. That whoever put this together knows enough to associate this song about young love with this explosion in Mr. Barrett, which makes a lot of sense to me, because I think as I've said, I think he's someone who's motivated by love, and that started when he was younger. Okay, the next kind of point that I'll kind of point to is this guitar man that's kind of loosely put together. You can't really see a guitar really cleanly, but they kind of show him playing a guitar. I'm not sure who that's supposed to be. I think that's supposed to be like a self-portrait of Syd. Not entirely certain. The next sketch is kind of a sketch of a drummer and a guitarist, and that was actually in a letter to Jenny Spires. Now, that guitarist is actually Beck, and that's noted in the book. So, as I mentioned in Peeling Syd series and in the trailer for Have You Got It Yet, Syd may have been scouting for talent to replace himself with. He may have known that that's what he wanted to do all along. And Jeff Beck, of course, is the guitarist. He was playing with the Tridents, but eventually he went on to play with the Yardbirds and do other work. He's considered to be one of the greatest guitarists of all time. So, certainly, Syd was aware of him. Why was he aware of him? Was he looking to get out? Was he just checking out other people to see what they were doing, enjoying a show? I don't know. You'll kind of have to decide what you think on your own. An image that kind of runs through this is this cat image. There was a cat that is in some of Syd's artwork in this book that passed away around the same time that his dad did. So you have to kind of wonder if there isn't some kind of a connection there that's going on with Mr. Barrett. The next point I'll make is this true story with the stick figures thing that clearly shows two people that are similar, a male and a female that kind of come together in love, and then they get attracted to, and they're shown kind of with white empty clothing, and then they're attached to or attracted to others that are wearing darker clothing, and then eventually they come back to each other, and they're thinking about each other and come back together. And then the family idea kind of shows up there. And now this is in a letter to Libby. So in my opinion, this shows exactly what Syd's intentions were. That at least with Libby, he had the dream of being with her. That was his intention. and she's in Cambridge. So everybody likes to kind of point to his mom and say he moved back to Cambridge because his mom lived there. But I think there's much more of a draw in general. I think there were a lot of people, including Libby and his mom and his sister, that were back home in Cambridge, and they all kind of collectively pulled him there, even though they may not have intended to do that. That draw would have been very likely an undeniable draw. It's right there in his artwork. It shows that his intent is to kind of have this lifelong bond with Libby to some degree, perhaps only while he was young. And the implication is, of course, family, having kids. You can see there's the three forms there. Now, there are songs that kind of fit the vibe of this song. One is Late Night and another is Feel. And in Late Night, there's a very profound lyric. He states that your kisses will always be a very special thing to me, which is a wonderful sentiment, a wonderful lyric. And it gives you this kind of timeless notion that perhaps was accurate to Mr. Barrett, that he thought that this was something that was going to be forever. And perhaps it was, I mean, just because people break up, this is something that bothers me, by the way, in the modern world. The idea that because people break up, they're not allowed to think about each other anymore. They have to hate each other almost. At least, this is kind of the dynamic that I see in the United States. It's very rare, perhaps it's becoming more common, that people acknowledge that they have a shared past and they'll always have emotions tied to each other, even though perhaps they can no longer have the same type of relationship anymore. That's understood. But they will always have this bond between them that is significant and lovely and deserves to be remembered. And I like that very much. I get that sentiment quite a bit in this song, in the song Late Night. And of course, the idea of children is not directly addressed in Syd's music generally, but there is a song that does, and that is the song Feel. And you can go look through the lyrics of the song Feel if you like, but it seems to be referencing having children. So perhaps he had a dream of having children. Perhaps it's more than that. You do have to wonder, did Syd leave because he wanted to have a family and hide things from everyone? And did he actually have kids? I don't know. If there are kids out there that are tied to Syd, I would hope that they would recognize the value of the gift that's given, and that their anonymity is an incredibly valuable thing. It gives them the space to develop, and it gives them the freedom to define themselves, to be who they're going to be, without having the weight of all these strange stories tied to Mr. Barrett, tied to them. That could be a very liberating thing. It'd be a great gift. And certainly if I was Mr. Barrett and I did have kids, I would probably do the same thing. Anyway, that's pretty much my thoughts for this video. Hope you liked it. Hope you liked the song. Hope you liked the discussion. And I'll talk to you folks later.